All right, so get this ready. We are going deep on branding today.
Deep.
Yeah, really deep. We
Okay.
got notes on everything.
Oh, wow.
It's like branding basics, market strategy, competitive analysis,
Yeah.
even how to launch a digital business.
Nice.
I was thinking of this like a crash course,
Yeah.
for our listeners to go from like idea to market domination.
I like it. Yeah. And one thing I noticed going through these notes
Yeah.
was really this focus on purpose-driven branding, right?
Right.
It's not just slapping on a logo and calling it a day anymore.
Right.
It's about that why.
Oh, yeah. Simon Sinek's Golden Circle,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why? How? What?
Yeah,
It's in these notes so much, though, it feels a little basic just saying those three words.
right.
So, like, what's the big deal? What makes it so powerful?
Well, just think about it.
Okay.
Like Dove soap,
Yeah.
their whole why is all about challenging beauty standards, promoting self-esteem.
Right.
It's not just selling soap, it's a statement.
Right.
And that resonates with people way more than just like, hey, we make your skin soft.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. So it actually influences, like, everything they do then.
Right.
Their products, their ad campaigns. It all goes back to that why.
Right, exactly. It's like that with Crayola, too.
Oh, yeah.
Their why, sparking creativity in kids.
Yeah.
They could just sell crayons, but they don't.
Right.
They build whole world's experiences around that idea.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the kind of loyalty that you build
Right.
when you have a really solid why.
So it's a real business strategy.
Yeah.
It's not just like, feel-good stuff.
Right?
But does it ever backfire? Like, what if your why is just wrong?
Well, that's where that how and the what come into play.
Okay.
You've got to deliver on your why with products, services.
Right.
That's where a lot of brands, I think, really trip up.
Yeah.
Take, for example, a company that says,
Yeah.
we're all about sustainability.
Yeah.
And then it turns out they're using like unethical manufacturing.
Ouch.
Their why crumbles because their actions don't match their words.
Right.
It's like building a house on sand.
Yeah. So integrity's key.
Yeah.
You've got to walk the walk.
Absolutely. And, that's why I think really understanding your market is so crucial.
Right.
Because you can have the most amazing, inspiring why in the world.
Yeah.
But if nobody wants what you're selling,
Yeah.
you're not going to go anywhere.
Well, that's where I think like TAM, SAM, and SOM come into play, right?
Yeah.
You've got notes on that. And I always feel like I'm back in business school.
It's not that complicated.
Okay.
Imagine you're launching this high-end skincare line.
Okay.
TAM,
Yeah.
total addressable market,
Oh, yeah.
would be every single person in the world
Right.
who buys skincare.
Huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
But,
You can't reach everybody on day one.
exactly.
Right.
So that's where SAM comes in.
Okay.
That's your serviceable available market. So let's say you're focusing on, I don't know, the Gulf countries.
Okay.
Initially,
Right.
that's a little bit more realistic, right?
Right. And then SOM is even more narrow, right?
Sure.
Serviceable, obtainable market.
Yeah.
Like, how much of that market can you actually get given the competition and everything?
Right. And it's dynamic. Like,
Right.
think about the rise of K-beauty a few years ago.
Yeah.
C. Coleman for those brands outside Korea was pretty small.
Yeah.
But through some smart branding,
Yeah.
influencer marketing,
Yeah.
they really expanded that
Okay.
dramatically.
So it's not just about the size.
Yeah.
It's about strategy.
Absolutely.
Knowing these numbers can help you, like, focus.
Right. So you're not spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah.
You can tailor your approach
Okay.
to the specific segments.
All right. So we've got our why.
Yeah.
And we've mapped out the market.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, now we've got to zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. That's market analysis. So we're talking, market size, growth trends,
Yeah.
customer segments, competitor analysis, all of it.
Sounds kind of overwhelming.
Well, think of it this way. You're a detective.
Okay.
You're figuring out what's working,
Yeah.
what's not,
Right.
and where the real opportunities are.
So like gathering intel before you go into battle.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let's say you want to launch, I don't know, a new fitness app.
Okay.
Understanding the growth trends, that tells you if this is a booming industry
Yeah.
or if it's, already saturated.
Okay.
Like if everybody and their mom's already on the yoga app bandwagon,
Yeah.
maybe you need to find a niche,
Right. Or maybe you're realizing that
Yeah.
the market for like senior fitness apps
Yeah, there you go.
is totally underserved.
That's your sweet spot.
Right. Okay.
But, that's just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Competitor analysis, that's equally important.
Okay.
What are they doing well?
Yeah.
What are they not doing so well? Where can you kind of set yourself apart?
Yeah, how do you even define competition these days?
Yeah.
It's not like you're always going head to head, right,
Yeah.
with the exact same product.
Right. We've got those notes about the 4 levels of competition.
Yeah, those always seemed a little theoretical to me.
Okay, well, let's break it down.
Yeah.
So you're opening a burger joint,
Okay.
your brand competition.
Yeah.
That's the other burger places
Yeah.
in town. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, yeah.
Your industry competition, that's all the restaurants.
Oh, okay, all restaurants.
Yeah, but now it gets more interesting, right?
Okay.
You have form competition.
Okay.
This is anything that satisfies that same need
Okay.
that your product does,
Yeah.
even if it's not,
Right.
in the same category.
Okay.
So for your burger joint,
Yeah.
that could be, taco trucks,
Right.
sandwich shops,
Yeah.
maybe even meal prep delivery services.
Wow, so you're not just competing with other burger flippers.
Right.
You're competing with anyone who satisfies hunger.
Exactly.
And then generic competition, that's like everything, right?
Yeah.
Like going to the movies instead of eating out.
You get it. It's that slice the consumer's wallet.
Okay.
So understanding these levels, you can anticipate challenges.
Right.
You can spot those opportunities.
Yeah.
You avoid getting blindsided
Yeah.
by a competitor you didn't even realize you had.
Okay, I'm starting to sweat a little here.
I know. That's a lot.
How do you even survive out there?
Well, that's where I think this winning zone framework comes in.
Yeah.
It helps you carve out that space where you can excel, right?
Yeah.
Instead of constantly just like battling it out.
Right.
So think of it like a matrix.
A matrix? I like it.
You've got 4 zones.
Okay.
Winning, danger, losing, and dump.
Okay.
The winning zone. That's where your unique strengths meet an actual market need.
Right.
Better than anyone else, that's where you're not competing, you're dominating.
Okay, but what about the danger zone?
Danger zone, that's where you end up competing on price.
Oh.
You're just trying to undercut everybody.
Yeah.
It's a race to the bottom.
Right.
And eventually, someone's margin, it just gets squeezed out of existence.
So that leads to the losing zone.
Yeah, potentially
Right.
losing zone is you're just not cutting it, right?
Yeah.
Competitors are outperforming you.
Yeah.
You're struggling to keep up.
Right.
And then there's the dump zone, right?
Dump zone.
That's you're offering things that nobody wants.
Right.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So the winning zone, it's about finding that sweet spot where you're offering something unique and valuable.
Absolutely.
And people will actually pay for it.
It's not just being different.
Right.
It's about being better
Okay.
in a way that matters to your audience.
All right. So we talked about the why, the market, the battlefield of competition.
Yeah.
What about the brand itself?
Yeah.
What makes it like visually appealing?
Well, your notes here, they get into those building blocks of identity.
Okay.
Logo, colors, typography, photography,
Yeah.
even the brand's voice, tone,
Like,
It's about crafting a really cohesive experience that people recognize.
okay, so it's more than just a pretty logo.
Yeah.
You've got to think about all these different elements.
Exactly. And think about those iconic brands we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Dove, Crayola, Nike, they all have that distinct look and feel
Yeah.
that tells you instantly who they are,
Right.
what they stand for.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the criteria for choosing. Like
Yeah.
these elements, we've got some notes here, but it's kind of abstract.
Well, let's think about it like building a house.
Okay.
You need a solid foundation,
Yeah.
right? Your brand elements, they need to be memorable
Okay.
so people recognize you.
Yeah.
Meaningful,
Okay.
so they get what you stand for.
Right.
Likeable,
Yeah.
so they actually want to engage with you.
Right.
Transferable, so you can expand.
Adaptable, so you can kind of evolve with the times.
Right.
And protectable.
Okay.
So nobody can steal your thunder.
That's a lot to consider.
It is. It is.
It makes sense, though. You don't want to build a brand on,
Yeah.
shaky ground.
Let's just take logos, for example.
Okay.
A good logo, it's simple.
Right.
It's memorable.
Yeah.
Visually distinct.
Okay.
Think about the Apple logo.
Right.
You see it, you instantly know it's Apple.
Yeah.
You don't even need the name there.
Right.
And it's so versatile.
Right.
It can be used on all of their products, their
Yeah.
marketing materials.
Right.
It stood the test of time, too.
Yeah.
Minor tweaks here and there to keep it fresh.
Right. So a logo is like the face of the brand.
Yeah.
But what about color? It seems like every brand now has, its own color palette.
Color is super powerful.
Yeah.
It evokes emotions,
Yeah.
influences perceptions, even drives purchasing decisions.
Did you know that 80% of consumers, they say that color is the primary factor?
Seriously, 80%.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Think about McDonald's.
Okay.
Those golden arches,
Right.
that bright yellow,
Yeah.
it makes you think about happiness,
Mm.
optimism, childhood
Oh,
nostalgia.
yeah.
It's not just selling you a burger,
Yeah.
they're selling you a feeling.
Okay, so now I'm fascinated by color psychology.
Right, it's interesting.
What about other colors, like blue? What does that mean?
Well, blue, that usually conveys trust,
Oh, okay.
stability, security.
Right.
That's why it's really popular with like financial institutions,
Right.
tech
All
companies,
sense.
healthcare providers.
Okay, what about green? That feels like it's everywhere.
Green, well, that's all about nature,
Okay.
sustainability, well-being.
Right.
If you want to look eco-conscious or health-focused,
Yeah.
green is the way to go.
What about black? Black always feels
Yeah.
sophisticated.
Right. Black is often associated with luxury, power, exclusivity,
Right.
high-end fashion,
Yeah.
automotive companies, premium tech products.
Like Apple.
Yeah, think about brands like Chanel,
Right.
Rolex,
Yeah.
even Apple's higher-end products.
Right.
They use black.
Okay, and then there's red.
Red.
Red is bold.
Red is bold. It's about energy, passion,
Yeah.
excitement. Brands like Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
Target, Netflix, they use it to really grab your attention,
Okay.
create that sense of urgency.
I am looking at branding in a whole new light now.
It is
It's
interesting.
like a whole secret language.
It's like a code.
Okay, so we've got the why.
Yeah.
We've got our market analysis,
Yeah,
brand identity.
right.
What's next?
Well, your notes have this whole section on launching a digital business.
Okay.
And it really breaks down that process from idea generation to launch.
So this is where the rubber meets the road, right?
Yeah, it's time to take action.
Okay.
It starts with, having that great idea.
Right.
Something that solves a problem or fills a gap.
Okay.
Then you got to execute.
Yeah.
Bring that idea to life.
Right.
That's where that day one branding comes in.
Okay.
You build that identity.
Right.
You craft the messaging. You design that online presence.
So that's like building the website,
Yeah.
choosing social media platform.
Absolutely. All that.
Yeah.
And finally, the big moment.
The launch.
The launch.
This is where you put your marketing plan into action.
Yeah.
Get that product out there.
Okay.
Start engaging customers.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. It's also a little
Yeah.
daunting.
It is. It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important to have that solid plan.
Right.
That clear understanding of your goals.
Yeah, speaking of goals, there's a case study in our notes.
Oh, yeah.
Pizza House.
Yeah.
All these ideas for a pizzeria, a hypothetical one.
Right. So they use mind mapping here to come up with all these different
Yeah.
menu offerings.
It's everything. Pasta, salads, pizzas, desserts, you name it.
Yeah.
They've got penne arrabbiata, spaghetti carbonara, Greek salad, Verona salad,
Mm-hmm.
pepperoni pizza, margarita pizza, everything you could imagine.
They even have dessert pizzas.
Yeah, they have dessert pizzas.
It's pretty impressive.
It is.
They've covered all the bases.
So how do we take this pizza house from a mind map
Yeah.
to, a thriving business?
Well, they've got that foundation, right, with their product offerings.
Yeah.
So now it's about branding.
Okay, what kind of brand identity would work for a pizza place?
Well, that really depends on, who their target is.
Okay.
And, the overall vibe. Are
Right.
they family-friendly,
Right.
trendy, date night,
Yeah.
late night hangout?
Okay, let's say they want to be a neighborhood favorite.
Okay, I like
A
it.
place where everybody feels welcome.
Okay, so in that case,
Yeah.
they probably want a warm, inviting kind of brand identity.
Yeah.
There's something with a rustic, handcrafted feel.
Yeah. Okay.
Their logo could be, I don't know, a pizza peel
Okay.
or a wood-fired oven.
Right.
Their colors could be warm reds,
Yeah.
earthy browns, maybe a pop of, fresh green.
Yeah. I like that.
And their voice should be, friendly,
Approachable.
approachable.
Maybe even a little humorous.
Exactly. And they should highlight, that they use fresh, local ingredients,
Yeah.
their commitment to quality,
Okay.
that it should come across in their messaging.
And maybe they could offer, some unique pizzas to set them apart.
Yeah, from the competition.
A signature pizza named after the neighborhood.
Like,
Or one that, features seasonal ingredients.
it's amazing how these, branding principles
Yeah.
can be applied to something as simple as a pizza place.
It is. It's about creating that experience
Right.
that resonates.
And remember, a strong brand,
Yeah.
it's built on 4 pillars.
That's right.
Memorability, emotional connection, consistency, differentiation. Those are the key ingredients.
Okay, so we got to make sure this pizza house is memorable.
Yeah.
Creates that emotional connection with their customers.
Right.
Has a consistent brand experience.
Yeah.
and stands out.
Stands out. And there are some, really useful tools
Okay.
to help you with that. I think your notes mention SWOT analysis.
SWOT analysis, classic.
Yeah, classic, right.
Yeah, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats,
Exactly.
like a snapshot of your business
Yeah.
and seeing where you stand.
So it helps you identify those internal factors you can control.
Yeah?
Strengths, weaknesses, and then those external factors.
Right.
You've got to adapt to the opportunities and threats.
Okay, so let's say our pizza house is doing a SWOT analysis.
Okay.
Their strength, maybe it's their delicious, unique pizzas.
Right. Made with fresh, local ingredients.
Right. The weakness might be they don't have a lot of experience,
Okay.
In the restaurant industry.
Lack of experience. Okay.
Opportunity, maybe it's that growing demand for
So
delivery.
that was delivery. All that.
And the threat is, competition from other pizza places.
Always a threat.
Right.
So by analyzing those 4 areas,
Yeah.
they can figure out how to leverage their strengths,
Right.
mitigate those weaknesses,
That's the-
capitalize on opportunities,
Yeah.
prepare for those threats.
So it's like a roadmap to success.
Exactly.
And what about mind mapping?
Mind mapping, that's a great tool for just, getting those ideas out.
Yeah, we saw that with the Pizza House menu.
Exactly.
It helped them visualize their products and get creative.
Yeah, get creative, explore different possibilities.
Wow, we've covered a lot
Oh, no.
in this first part.
Yeah.
We've gone from the why to market analysis, brand identity,
Yeah.
launching a business,
Yeah.
even dissected a pizza place.
Pizza House.
Yeah, my head is spinning, but in a good way.
It's a lot to take in, but,
Yeah.
I think we laid a really solid foundation
Yeah,
for understanding these key principles.
absolutely. And we've seen how these principles can be applied
Yeah, in the real world.
to a real situation. Yeah.
To Pizza House.
To Pizza House.
That's right.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Okay.
We're going to delve even deeper
Ooh, we're in.
into the psychology of branding.
Okay.
Look at some real-world examples
Oh, yeah.
of brands that have nailed it
Yeah.
and brands that, haven't quite nailed it.
I can't wait to unpack that
Yeah, it's going to be good.
and learn from those successes and mistakes.
Absolutely.
All right. Catch you in part 2.
See you then. Welcome back. Are you ready to go even deeper?
Let's do it. I'm ready to dive into this psychology of branding.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, last time we were talking about the why and the market analysis, even color psychology.
Right.
I'm really curious about how brands tap into our emotions,
Yeah.
How do they make us feel a certain way about them?
Well, it's really interesting. It's like brands have personalities almost.
Right.
Like they're people that we can relate to.
Yeah.
Your notes mention brand archetypes,
Oh, yeah.
which are these recurring patterns of values and traits
Right.
that brands embody.
Okay, so like those personality quizzes we all take online?
Kind of, yeah.
Is my brand like a rebel or a caregiver,
It's not really about a quiz.
Okay.
It's more about understanding those motivations
Yeah.
and desires that drive your brand.
Okay.
So, for example, like the hero archetype,
Okay.
brands like Nike,
I know
Adidas, they inspire us to push our limits.
Yeah, achieve greatness.
Exactly.
What about like Disney? They feel different.
Yeah, more wholesome,
Yeah.
right? That's the innocent archetype.
Okay.
Think about brands that evoke those feelings of
Mhm.
like purity,
Right.
simplicity, nostalgia.
Okay.
They appeal to that desire for happiness, optimism.
Okay, so what about the brands that are all about luxury? Sophistication, like the fancy handbags and the cars and stuff?
Right. Well, that's the ruler archetype.
Okay.
Brands like Rolex, Chanel,
Yeah.
they project that aura of power, success, exclusivity.
Okay.
They tap into those aspirations for status,
Yeah.
refinement.
It's interesting how these archetypes influence everything, right?
Yeah.
Like from their visual identity to their tone of voice.
Right, exactly.
You wouldn't expect like a hero brand to use pastel colors and flowery language.
No, a hero brand.
Right.
You'd expect bold colors,
Right.
dynamic visuals,
Yeah.
powerful, motivating tone.
Right, whereas an innocent brand
Yeah,
might use soft colors,
Yeah.
gentle imagery,
absolutely.
playful voice.
It's like they're speaking different languages,
Right.
but they're both trying to connect with us on that emotional level.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to
Yeah.
choose the right archetype for your brand.
Absolutely.
It's got to be authentic,
Yeah.
aligned with your values and,
Yeah.
your audience.
Your target audience's aspirations.
Okay, so we've got brand personality down.
Yeah.
What about those catchy phrases,
Yeah.
the slogans and taglines that just stick in your head?
The power of words.
Yeah, like Nike's Just do it.
Oh, yeah.
So simple, but so powerful.
It's about action,
Right.
motivation, pushing yourself.
It speaks to that hero, right?
Exactly. The hero archetype.
Yeah.
It inspires and empowers people.
What about because you're worth it?
That's a good one. That's L'Oreal, right?
Yeah.
That taps into the desire for self-worth,
Right.
empowerment.
Yeah.
It's telling women, you deserve to treat yourself.
Okay.
Invest in your well-being.
And think different. That's Apple.
Think different. That one's not even a complete sentence.
Yeah.
But it's so memorable.
Yeah.
It challenges the status quo, right?
Right.
It appeals to that desire for innovation, creativity.
Yeah.
It's about breaking the mold.
It's amazing how a few words can say so much about a brand.
Yeah, it really is.
So we've got personality. We've got slogans and taglines.
Uh-huh.
What else makes a brand really strong?
Well, your notes highlight those 4 key pillars that we talked about before.
Right. Memorability.
Yeah.
That's like creating a brand that people remember.
Yes, it sticks in their minds.
You see the logo,
Well,
you hear the slogan.
You know who it is.
Yeah.
So a catchy name,
Yeah.
distinctive logo,
Right.
memorable slogan.
It all adds up.
Yeah, it all works together.
Emotional connection.
Yeah.
That's tapping into people's feelings, right?
Right. It's about creating a bond.
Yeah.
It's more than just, oh, that's a cool product.
Right.
It's making people feel understood, valued, inspired.
Right. Okay.
Consistency.
Consistency.
That's about keeping a unified brand experience.
Yeah. So everything's cohesive.
Across all touch points.
Like website, social media.
Yep. Package.
It all has to like match.
It should all feel cohesive.
Right.
And aligned.
Differentiation. That's what sets you apart, right?
Exactly. That's what makes you unique, desirable.
You're finding that winning zone.
Yeah. And you're owning it.
So let's go back to Pizza House.
Okay. Our favorite pizzeria.
Yeah, our hypothetical pizzeria.
How do we apply these principles
Yeah.
to make Pizza House a winner?
Well, we talked about some ideas for like their identity and messaging.
Right.
But let's think about those 4 pillars.
Yeah.
How do we make them memorable, create that connection,
Yeah.
ensure consistency, and differentiate them?
So for memorability,
Yeah.
maybe they could have like a really catchy name.
Right. A logo that's super eye-catching.
Yeah, visually appealing.
Easy to remember.
And they can reinforce that name and logo
Right.
by using it consistently.
Yeah.
Their colors, their imagery.
Yeah, across everything.
Yeah, their marketing material.
What about emotional connection?
Emotional connection.
Yeah.
Well, they could focus on the experience of sharing,
Yeah.
a pizza with friends and family.
Yeah, like togetherness.
Yeah, they could show images of that,
Yeah.
in their advertising on their social media.
Right. Okay.
They could even use storytelling
Oh, yeah.
to highlight the passion and care
Yeah.
that goes into making their pizzas.
Okay, I like it.
For consistency,
Yeah.
they got to make sure that their brand identity
Right.
is reflected in everything,
Yeah, from the menu to their website.
to their staff uniforms, right?
Yeah, okay.
And then differentiation.
Differentiation.
They can really highlight those fresh, local ingredients.
Yeah.
Their unique pizza creations.
Right, those signature pizzas.
Exactly. And their commitment to,
Yeah.
that warm, welcoming atmosphere.
Maybe they could even partner with like local farms
Oh, that's a good idea.
to source their ingredients,
Yeah.
show their commitment to the community.
Absolutely. It reinforces that commitment to quality,
Right.
gives them a unique selling proposition.
There are so many layers to this.
There are, yeah.
It's not just a cool logo
Right.
or a slogan
It's about creating that holistic experience.
that resonates with people.
Yes. And it's ongoing.
Right.
You got to adapt,
Yeah.
evolve,
Keep it fresh.
stay relevant, meet those changing needs.
All right, we've talked about personality,
Yeah.
slogans, key elements of a strong brand.
Uh-huh.
What about actually launching a business in this digital world?
Yeah. It seems like a whole different ballgame, right?
Yeah, it's intimidating.
Well, your notes actually point out that building a digital business
Yeah.
is very similar to building any other kind of business.
Okay.
It starts with a great idea.
Yeah.
You move through the same stages: execution,
Right.
branding, launching.
So you're saying the fundamentals are the same?
Yeah, whether you're opening a store
Yeah.
or launching an app.
Okay.
Of course, there's some unique things to think about.
Yeah, like what?
Well, for example, your website.
Yeah.
That's often the first impression people have of your brand online.
Yeah.
So it has to be visually appealing,
Easy to navigate.
easy to navigate.
And you got to get your message across clearly.
Yeah, it also has to be optimized,
Right.
for search engines so people can actually find you.
That makes sense. And social media. Everybody's got to be on social media.
Oh, yeah. Social media is huge.
It is.
Powerful tool to connect with your audience,
Yeah.
share your story, build a community.
Okay.
And it's a great way to get feedback
Right.
from your customers.
What about online advertising?
Oh, yeah. So many different platforms.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
It can be,
It can be.
but things like targeted ads
Yeah.
on platforms like Google and Facebook
Yeah.
can be really effective.
Okay.
Driving traffic to your website.
Right. But you have to have a strategy.
Yeah, you got to have a plan.
Yeah.
Track your results.
Okay.
So you know what's working, what's not.
So it sounds like building a digital brand takes a lot of different skills.
It does, but the good news is
Yeah.
there are tons of resources to help you learn those.
Okay.
And all those principles we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Understanding your why,
Right.
creating a memorable identity,
Yeah.
consistent experience,
Yeah.
differentiated brand,
Right.
Those are just as relevant in the digital world.
Okay, so it's not just about like
Yeah.
algorithms and SEO.
Not just that.
It's still about connecting with people.
Yeah. Building relationships.
It's more important even.
Yeah, I think it is because there's so much noise online,
Right.
so much competition.
Okay, I'm starting to get the big picture,
Good.
but there's a lot more to learn.
There always is. It's
Yeah.
constantly evolving.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover.
So how do we keep up?
Just stay curious.
Okay.
Keep learning, keep experimenting,
Yeah.
find what works for you.
All right. I'm feeling inspired.
Good.
Ready for part 3.
Let's do it. We'll bring it all together.
Yeah.
Explore some actionable takeaways.
Yeah.
Help you build your own winning brand.
Welcome back. It's the final part of our branding deep dive. Are you ready to turn this knowledge into action?
Yeah, I think so. We've covered a lot. The why, market analysis, archetypes, even those catchy slogans. So now
Oh,
let's connect the dots and give you some tools
Okay.
so you can build a brand that really stands out.
All right. So where do we even begin? It feels like we've been given all these ingredients for a cake, but no instructions on how to bake it.
You're right. Having the pieces is one thing,
Yeah.
but knowing how they fit together, that's key. And it all starts with that why,
Right.
that core purpose. That's the heart of your brand.
We were talking about that with Dove, Crayola. It's more than what you sell.
Yeah.
It's that belief that drives you.
Right. It's the reason you get up every day and you're like, I'm going to make this brand amazing.
Yeah.
So once you have that, then you can start to define your audience.
Right.
Who are you trying to connect with? What are their needs, their dreams, even their pain points?
And this is where the market analysis comes in.
Yeah.
Understanding the landscape, the competition.
Right. Where your brand can fit in, where it can carve out a space.
And that's where those tools like TAM, SAM, SUMAM, those can help.
Absolutely. They can help you really focus your energy
Right.
and your resources on the market segments that are most likely to embrace your brand.
Okay, so we've got the why, target audience, we analyze the market.
Uh-huh.
Now we create the brand itself, right?
Yeah, the fun part,
The name, the logo, colors, messaging.
bring it to life and remember those criteria for choosing your elements.
Right.
Make sure they're memorable,
Yeah.
meaningful, likable, transferable,
Right.
adaptable, and protectable.
So important.
Super important.
We talked about the Apple logo.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Simple, elegant, you see it, you know it.
Exactly. And think about their personality, that sleek, innovative vibe.
Yeah.
It's in everything they do, their product design, their advertising, even their stores.
Yeah.
That consistency is key.
So it's like building a house. You need a solid foundation,
Uh-huh.
clear vision, so everything works together.
Exactly. Now let's talk about launching your brand,
Okay.
whether it's online or in the real world.
This is where we take everything we've learned and put it out there.
Yeah, and it can feel really daunting.
It can.
But you don't have to do everything at once.
Right.
Start by developing what's called a minimum viable product.
Okay, an MVP?
An MVP, exactly.
What is that?
Well, it's basically a basic version of your product
Okay.
that lets you test the market,
Okay.
get feedback from early adopters,
Right.
refine your offering before you go all in.
That takes the pressure off.
It does. It's like dipping your toes in the water instead of doing a cannonball.
Exactly.
And then you have to think about your marketing strategy.
Oh, yeah. How are we reaching those people?
How are you to reach your target audience?
Convince them to choose us over everyone else.
Right. This is where social media comes in.
Right. Online ads, content marketing, all of that.
All of it. But it's not about just shouting your message as loud as you can.
Right.
You got to be strategic, target the right people,
Yeah.
right message at the right time.
It's also about building those relationships, right?
It is. Engage with your audience.
Yeah.
Respond to feedback. Build a community.
Okay, so it's not just a one-way street.
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
You're evolving based on what your customers tell you.
So let's bring this all back to the listener.
Okay.
Think about your own aspirations, whether it's starting a business or building a personal brand or just wanting to make a difference.
These principles can help you achieve your goals.
So it's not just for huge companies
No, not at all.
with big marketing teams.
Anyone can use this.
Okay, so if I'm feeling stuck, what are some practical things I can do?
Start with your why. Why are you passionate about this?
Yeah.
What difference do you want to make?
Right.
Define your audience. Who are you trying to reach?
Right.
What are they all about?
Okay, and then I can start creating the brand, right?
Then you create the name, the logo, the colors, the messaging.
And remember those 4 pillars.
Always. Memorability,
Mm-hmm.
emotional connection, consistency,
Yeah.
differentiation.
What if I'm feeling overwhelmed?
If you're feeling overwhelmed, use those tools we talked about.
Right.
SWOT analysis, mind mapping.
Those can help.
They can give you clarity, identify your strengths and weaknesses,
Yeah.
help you map out your strategy.
This has been amazing.
It has.
We've gone from feeling clueless about branding to feeling like we can actually do this.
I think so. And remember, building a brand, it's a journey.
It is.
It's about constantly learning,
Yeah.
experimenting, adapting.
Most importantly, have fun
Have fun.
and be passionate about it.
Yeah, create something you love.
That's the best part.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep building those incredible brands.
We'll see you next time.